Atlanta, are you feeling it? Because this wasn't just a win, this was a statement. The Falcons walked into a must-win battle against Washington, and they didn't just survive, they answered every single doubt. Final score, 34-27. And make no mistake, this wasn't about numbers in the standings. This was about pride, belief, and showing that this team refuses to fold when the pressure is highest. Think about it. Heading into the bye at 2-2 instead of 1-3 changes everything. Momentum, confidence, and morale, all of it. And with the NFC loaded with contenders, the Falcons knew this was a game they absolutely had to have. They delivered. But let's start with the man at the center of it all, Michael Penix Jr. 1 week after the disaster in Carolina, doubts were everywhere. Was he ready? Could he handle the moment? Against Washington, he answered with fire. His second 300-yard game, completing nearly 77% of his throws, 2 touchdowns, and the kind of poise that makes teammates believe again. That's not just a stat line, that's redemption. That's growth. And while Penix was the heartbeat, he wasn't alone. Bijan Robinson reminded the world why he's one of the most electric young stars in football. 181 total yards. His first rushing touchdown of the season. And that 69-yard catch that flipped the field and the energy of the entire game. Every time he touches the ball, you feel like something special could happen, and on Sunday, it did. Kyle Pitts? He's looking sharper, more dangerous, and more confident each week. And Drake London heard the noise. People wondered if he was worth the money, worth the faith. He answered with his best game of the year, 8 catches, 110 yards, and every play dripping with the hunger of a star ready to prove he's worth every dime. Now, it wasn't all perfect. Darnell Mooney left the game in the second quarter and didn't return. His status could loom large moving forward, and it's something to watch closely. But even with that setback, this offense finally looked alive. The play calling clicked. The rhythm was there. The execution was sharper. And for the first time all season, you could feel the swagger returning. This wasn't just a win. This was a team rediscovering its identity and setting the tone for what's coming next. If the offense gave us fireworks, the defense gave us grit. But let's keep it real, clock management almost stole the spotlight. Late in the second quarter, right before halftime, the Falcons had a chance to squeeze in more points. All it would have taken was a timeout with about a minute left. Instead, they let the clock bleed. It felt cautious, maybe too cautious. And while the scoreboard didn't punish them right then, in a tighter matchup, those lost seconds can decide everything. That's the kind of detail that separates good teams from great ones. Now, on to the defense. This unit continues to show why it's the backbone of this Falcons squad. They weren't flawless. Washington ripped off a huge 48-yard run by Chris Rodriguez that had every Falcons fan holding their breath. But here's the truth, outside of that single breakdown, this defense was stone cold. Washington finished with just 294 total yards, 147 passing, 147 rushing. Balanced on paper, but if you take away that one run? The Falcons once again held an opponent under 100 yards rushing. That's dominance. That's consistency. That's the kind of performance that keeps you in the top 5 defenses in the league. And let's talk about the trenches, because that's where the battle was truly won. Quinton Doris. Remember that name. This man is putting the league on notice. Coming out of Oregon, everyone knew he was disruptive. But in Atlanta? He's showing he's more than disruptive, he's destructive. He's collapsing pockets, blowing up plays, and proving week after week why the Falcons invested in him. You can feel his presence on every snap. When Doris lines up, quarterbacks and running backs know something violent is coming their way. This wasn't a perfect defensive performance. Big plays slipped through, and that's something they'll need to clean up. But the energy, the discipline, and the physicality? That's championship DNA. And right now, the Falcons' defense looks like the foundation this entire season will be built on. You could feel the absence of A.J. Terrell out there. A couple of those Washington completions? You just know if Terrell was on the field, they don't happen. His return will lock this secondary into something dangerous, the kind of defense that can suffocate teams week after week. But even without him, the Falcons' pass rush and secondary stepped up when it mattered most. And nobody made a louder statement than Xavier Watts. This kid was everywhere. 8 tackles, flying sideline to sideline, and then the play that broke Washington's rhythm, a clutch interception that shifted momentum back to Atlanta. That wasn't just a highlight, that was leadership. That was a defender saying, "Not today. Not in our house." For me, he was absolutely the defensive player of the game. And then there's another piece of this puzzle, Zach Robinson. Fans might not talk about him as much, but his presence on the field with Michael Penix mattered. You could see it. The communication was sharper. The play calls came in cleaner. Penix wasn't second-guessing, he looked calm, confident, like he trusted the system around him. That trust? That's what builds great quarterbacks. Robinson breaking things down mid-game gave Penix exactly what he needed to reset and thrive. This was more than just a 34-27 win. This was a message. The Falcons are finding their rhythm. Even with injuries, even with mistakes. Sitting at 2-2 heading into the bye week may not sound flashy, but trust me, it's huge. An early bye gives them a chance to heal, regroup, and sharpen their identity before the real grind begins. Falcons Nation, this is just the start. 4 games down, 13 more to go. And if this team keeps building like this, that resilience, that fire, that balance on both sides of the ball, it could turn into something special.